No one would have believed, in the last years of the 19th century, that human affairs were being watched from the timeless worlds of space. No one could have dreamed we were being scrutinized as someone with a microscope studies creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. Few men even considered the possibility of life on other planets. And yet, across the gulf of space, minds immeasurably superior to ours regarded this Earth with envious eyes. And slowly and surely, they drew their plans against us.
Welcome back, everybody. My goodness, weird scenes already. Maybe we've touched a nerve. Maybe the Men of Black are listening. Maybe aliens interrupted our transmission. But let's try again after that interesting little occurrence where we got shut down. Mark's looking up to the skies to see if there's UFOs coming through the ceiling, it looks like.
I'm looking at my computer screen. Well, actually, it's the TV.
All right, okay.
I'm trying to get logged back in.
Yeah, well, that was weird, weird, weird. And Martha's saying maybe we're hitting a nerve. Maybe we are, but we do sort of run the risks of technical glitches when we do try these things live, and we are sort of trying this for the first time tonight. So fingers crossed. Let me just kind of, if I can show you how we're doing this. Turn around. I don't know if you can see there. So I've got my phone set up on a tripod, and the film is recording the TV screen, and I'm on a phone on Messenger casting the screen to the TV that I'm recording. This is high-tech stuff and what shit video productions is all about. But anyway, we are talking about, or trying to talk about, the alien agenda before we got cut off. I don't know where we were or what we were up to before then. So welcome back, those of you who have found us. Welcome, honks. Not any zombies tonight, my sweet. No, we are going to be all up in the aliens. Now, Becky, while we were off air, you started to talk about the symptoms of alien abductions. So do you want to maybe jump in with that and see if we anger the algorithm anymore?
Let's see if we can. There's been some studies of people who have been abducted, and they have some common symptoms. One of them is humming and buzzing tones and clicks in your ears. Of course, the missing time, but visual images like projected into your mind, just all of a sudden you see something. Feelings of a special mission, like spirituality minded, environment, missions, interpersonal relationship difficulties. And there's like 70 of these. And as I was reading through them, it's like, what else is going on that this happens? The 5G we've talked about, the COVID has symptoms like this. Ghosts, there's so many things, and it just makes me wonder if they're trying to cover this up with other things going on.
Okay, and this is kind of
You
a
see
little...
what I mean?
Yeah, no, for real. And this was a little bit like kind of we were trying to sort of suggest that are these kind of drones that we're seeing that are maybe at a lower to level being passed off as satellites? Are they telling us that things that we see, like what Mark was explaining, what were they, the biggity bugs? And are they passing... Don't worry about it. It's just a satellite. It's normal. It's normal to be seen. And the similarities between electromagnetic frequency sensitivity and COVID symptoms. And now you're mentioning that some people who suffer from alien abduction syndrome, because we can't exactly say they have been for sure abducted by aliens, or maybe they've been induced with electromagnetic frequencies or brainwashed or mind controlled to believe that they've been abducted. But the similarities of the symptoms, in something you mentioned last week about the nicotine patch or the nicotine withdrawal, where they listed the symptoms of nicotine withdrawal as side effects for the drugs. So a little bit what you're saying now, are they kind of listing side effects as something that is sort of could be attributed to either the COVID, the aliens, or electromagnetic frequencies as symptoms rather than side effects? And if they are, what exactly are they covering up? And what is interesting, in the last 12 months since the pandemic has started, the sort of any other time, the announcement that the United States government, the Canadian government, the United Kingdom government have declassified certain USFO files, that would blow the news completely wide open. Everybody would want to know a bit about it. But we're so caught up in the COVID that we're not noticing that the government is actually spending far more money on UFO research during the pandemic than they are on getting us back up and running and trying to get, a little bit of normality back, people back to work, businesses open. So what does that kind of suggest to you in the importance of the alien agenda? Is this something that we can no longer consider as merely tinfoil hat conspiracy stuff, or is it about to happen? Anybody who wants to jump in, who's not in, Maiden, you're not in the most, I think.
Well, I was just thinking that they're wanting something to happen, or something's going to happen, or something has been happening all along. You know, I kind of think back to the ancient alien theory stuff. You know, whatever it is that have been visiting Earth, and I don't know, it's not just one type of alien race either that you think about, but the one that they're pushing really is the big bug-eyed,
The kind of
green men.
Yeah, the traditional
or
grey.
the greys,
The greys, yeah.
Now, interesting you mentioned there. Mark, let's ask you, what are your thoughts? Are these extraterrestrial visitors, or are some of these things we see in earthbound technology?
I think it's both.
I mean,
I think it's absolutely both. I think as far as crafts and stuff that we actually see, I think a lot of that is really our own stuff, our own technology. As far as the actual concept of aliens, in my opinion, I think it's more on an interdimensional level. I really do. Even what you see in the sky, when you stand out and you look up at the sky and you look at the clouds and you watch what they do, I know I've been outside so many times. I do it all. I do it all the time. I work outside. You know, I'm a contractor, so I work outside. I'm always paying attention to what's going on. And when you look hard enough, you see the clouds do things. You know, and if there's ever such a thing as cloaking, so to speak, it's definitely something beyond what our human eyes can see. And that leads me to believe that it is most definitely an interdimensional kind of thing. You know, it's as far as physical reality. I mean, we already know experimenting with anti-gravity type stuff a long time ago. And if you have any type of knowledge about electromagnetics and magnetics, you can really understand how it's very possible to create some sort of anti-gravity field.
Some kind of flying disc. We did see a little while ago, we had an experiment, someone did it. He kind of made like a train set, I guess, sort of size scale model, and made a little disc that he made a magnetic rim, and this little spaceship kind of thing just run around on its own. You could flick it this way, flick it that way. And this is what I'm saying, these kind of technology has existed for nearly 100 years. Now, before we did go on air, we were talking about, and Jill already mentioned this evening, about the 50s. Now, this was sort of the rise in sort of the dawn of the UFO phenomena. This is when we started to hear the most sightings and start hearing reports of such things going on. And the government had, at the time, Project Blue Book, which was especially like the real life X-Files, a group of individuals that go out and do some research on UFO phenomenon. Now, the 50s wasn't too long removed from World War II, and we all know what happened at the end of World War II, that Operation Paperclip, the Allied forces cherry-picked the National Socialist scientists who were way ahead. They had rocket ships, jet planes, all this stuff way before. So do you think there's a possibility that in the 50s all these sightings could be down to experimentation, secret sort of government technology, or do you think maybe some of this was reversed engineered from things like Roswell that also took place in around that time frame?
I definitely think so. I mean, we've all seen the videos and the images of the bell-shaped thing that the Germans were working on, and I'm telling you straight up, I've taken pictures of stuff in the sky where I've seen that little freaking bell zipping through stuff. And that thing exists.
Yeah, Devil actually a couple of weeks ago was talking about it was known as the Nazi bell, right?
Yes.
And going back to what Jill mentioned about ancient aliens, that supposedly on the base of the Nazi bell there were Egyptian-like hieroglyphics and symbology. Um, so again, without going too back in time, we sort of look at things like the pyramids, the Aztecs, the Mayans. They all kind of had similar structures. And we look at sort of stone circles like Stonehenge, the most famous one, and then closer, there's another one this closer to my hometown called Avebury. Now, these are prehistoric structures, pretty much, that kind of accurately depict star constellations. Do you think there's anything in the fact that maybe visitors come and helped with the construction of these buildings in sewn circles, or were people back then just a little bit more advanced without the technology to look at the stars?
Oh, the age-old question, huh? Me personally, I don't see how that could have really been done without some sort of assistance from an outside source. You do enough research on it, people come up with all kinds of answers how they could have done this. You could float rocks with vibrations and frequency, which is true. There are certain ways to do certain things, but how would humans have known to do that such a long time ago?
Exactly, especially without the ability of like construction machinery like diggers or trucks to move the dirt that they dig up, or to each one of those blocks of the pyramid is huge. Just one was a mammoth task without machinery to move it from one point to the other, let alone stack them all on top of each other. And how did they get the rocks to the very top? Right.
The force. They used the force.
Use the force.
That
Sorry, Becky, do we jump
that was
in?
from a galaxy long ago, right?
Well, that's what it. That is the opening scroll. Look at you two drinking unanimously. Maybe it was a little bit of the force connecting you there. So, Becky, you were making a little pyramid thing there. Did you have something to jump in and say? Go ahead, sweetheart. We love listening to you.
No, I didn't. I was just agreeing and saying, yeah, the force.
The force and force. So, I mean, as I said, the ancient aliens.
Force, I'm a Zelda nut.
A Zelda nut.
Yeah.
What? Explain what a Zelda nut is. The game Zelda.
Yeah. Adventures of Zelda and the Triforce. The three pyramids together, and it makes up the Triforce, and that's the whole point of the game. Still
Pyramids everywhere. But without going too far back in time, we'll kind of keep it more in the sort of modern frame, sort of since the 50s. And I mean, aliens, this is what I'm saying. They've been around since almost the dawn of existence. There's been mentions of them. There was, reports in the, Bible stories of seeing things in the sky. When the Normans invaded England under William the Conqueror, they had something called the Bio Tapestry. And this was hand-stitched history of historic events of what happened. And even within this, they sewed objects into the sky. And this was in 1066, in the Battle of Hastings. So even before the sort of popularization of UFOs and people knew what UFOs were, there were reports of them. And we kind of fast forward now. As I said, for many, many years, we've been told, no, UFOs is just weather balloons, is swamp gas. All of a sudden, the the documentations have been put down in the US government saying, yeah, there's actually stuff that we do think is from another world. And is this preparing us for what is about to happen?
I think so. Yeah, I think they're working their way to full disclosure.
It certainly looks like, because they've got until June 20-something to produce documents. There was a bill passed on the 27th of December that said we need all, and this is what, again, is very, very crazy and somewhat, it could be concerning, the fact that they're pushing this before they want to get people back to their daily routines and back to jobs. Now, let's just say, for hypothetical, the aliens do come. Are we going to kind of see the Independence Day, War of the Worlds, total destruction aliens, or are we going to kind of see the more friendly, hey, we're here to help you type?
I'm hoping it's the friendly.
I mean,
Right,
it'd be great if we had a whole bunch of elves. I mean, imagine an invasion of elves. We'd be partying for the rest of the day. But you know, we've been, you know, H.G. Wells, the 1800s, even before there were aircraft, was writing a story about Martians in cylinders, in flying machines, in fighting machines, in tripods that could kind of, you know, shoot heat rays. Was this the part of the seeding? And again, War of the Worlds was very much part of the pre-war psychological operation of the time on the radio with Orson Welles, and he read the story in dramatization, and he passed it off as news. And this was the first kind of example of, are they using fake news and or dramatization and passing it off as news for the psychological effect? And again, people that were very sort of unfamiliar in you know, UFO was still a new phenomenon then. Many people, just by hearing this radio show, were tripped out and started committing suicide and going, you know, to phoning up the police, saying they seen and heard things. What psychological effect would that have? Anybody can jump in on this one. If you think, you know, saying tomorrow they announced, oh my God, there's an alien on the White House. What, under the sort of lockdown, the pandemic, the depression, the uncertainty, what do you think that would do on the Earth? Would that sort of be add into the damage, or would that unite us?
You know, I think that people would finally say, oh, this is what it's been about. That they've been getting us ready for that. Go ahead, Mark.
I think people with an open mind, people like us, will feel that way. But I mean, you got to take into consideration that it would literally turn the world upside down, because it goes against science, it goes against religion.
Right.
You know, it will seriously freak a lot of people out.
No doubt about
Exactly,
that.
and this is what I'm saying. We're already very, very destabilized under these kind of lockdown conditions, and you know, that would be the ultimate spanner in the works. And you know, a little bit about what yesterday was about, all out apocalypse. Are they just going to throw the whole entire arsenal of psyops at us in sort of progression, or are they going to just throw it all in at one big mix? And you know, again, the amount, you can't go a week without looking at, you know, doing a search for UFO sightings and reports coming up. In 2020 was the most reported UFO year ever. And are these reports legitimate, or are they providing us the normalization of the fact that it's going to happen? Maiden, you've been quiet for a little while. Jump in on that one if you like.
Well, I think maybe people saw them during 2020 more often because everyone was home.
Well, that was,
you know, made forced to be home. You know, people that wouldn't be home normally at night, maybe even looking up, seeing stuff. But they've been pushing soft disclosure for a real long time. Like at least, well, I don't know, several years, with a little bit here and there with the Navy this and the, you know,
little tidbits, right?
Yeah.
And of course, back
For a
in
while.
the 90s, there was supposedly that video leak to the alien autopsy that was very, very skeptical. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was released on VHS when I was in the UK, and it did look very rubber alien and kind of filmed as though kind of Blair Witch style. But even this, at the time, it was kind of branded is a little bit of declassification. This is come from the vault of the secret government archives, and, you know, for your eyes only sort of thing. So let's put a scenario from fiction, because fiction is probably what drew our attention to aliens in the first place. We see it on the movies, you know, for me, E.T. and Close Encounters of the third kind were movies I saw like was a 9-10-year-old boy, and I was like, wow, fascinated about these things, and it kind of made me look into the story. But even within the sort of realms of ET, that was a very friendly, lovable, everybody loved ET, there was a sinister side of the fact that the government knew. And there was even a scene at the end of the movie when the government had shotguns that they were going to gun down the kids on the BMXs to make sure ET didn't come. Now, E.T. was one of the most popular movies at the time, and was a huge blockbuster, and everybody kind of saw it. And again, I think this opened up a lot more people's eyes to the possibility of this being real. When we kind of look at the sci-fi from the 50s and 60s, when the spaceships were on bits of string, it was still very kind of cliche and kind of cheesy. But were they kind of sending a more deeper message within these movies to us than just the entertainment value of the blockbuster holiday movie? Anyone? Go, Mark.
I don't know. I got a blank on that one.
Maiden, you're a bit of a sci-fi nerd. You grew up with a lot of these movies, and mentioned that they've been seeding this for quite some time.
Right. Well, they have, and they kind of would go from more scary scenarios to more friendly scenarios to back to scary scenarios. You know, and you get your mix. For kids anymore, it's more like a lighthearted, you know, oh, these cute little aliens are coming to Earth and checking out what hot dogs are, and, you know, what presents are, and, you know, what the toilet does, versus, you know, alien ripping out of your stomach, you know, for adults.
Yeah, I mean, and that is true. A little bit like we saw with the zombie genre, that they kind of do target for every kind of age group, and they want to sort of introduce this to everybody. Now, something I did joke on a little bit about reference to War of the Worlds, that at the end of War of the Worlds, it was the Earth germs that killed the Martian invasion, but they did a lot of destruction and depopulating before the Earth germs kicked in. Do you think possibly that the COVID is our human get out of jail from the alien invasion cards, that the aliens are going to come, they're not going to be vaccinated against COVID, do some destruction to population, but then die of COVID, and then, you know what, it killed the aliens, you'd better get yourself vaccinated.
Wouldn't that be a crazy scenario?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that just be the ultimate slap you in the face? Well, we've locked you down and we've torn everybody's life apart, but hey, we're going to save us from the aliens with this COVID vaccine so they can get sick. That would just be the ultimate. Oh my God.
And again, that was in the original Alien Invasion script, right? In nearly every sort of every Alien Invasion borrows a little bit from War of the Worlds. And even Independence Day was a rewriting. It wasn't Earth germs; it was an Earth virus that they put into the computer system, right? That brought the planes down. V. Okay.
Yeah, the TV show. Remember the TV series from the 80s?
Yes. Well, they come as our friends.
A virus killed the aliens. That's how they were destroyed, as they figured out what, you know, bacteria. I don't know if it was bacteria or virus, but they found a microbe that killed the aliens, and that's how we won.
That's right. And of course, in V, they came as our friends. And they they appeared over every single sort of major city, and took over the networks and the I mean, even although it was fiction, V was something that everybody stopped what they were doing to tune into during the 80s. It was a huge event, and it was it's like, you know, it had a movie budget for a TV show at the time, which was ridiculous in the special effects. And even at the beginning, it started with a news cameraman out in Nicaragua or something, and then just out of nowhere, the aliens come. So they sort of influenced the news, could control the narrative of the aliens, and it was the news team that got taken.
Too, like a pandemic. It was all around the world. The aliens showed up in that. It wasn't just Nicaragua or Los Angeles. it was everywhere.
They were
They
always
showed up all at the same time.
and then they rebooted it, of course, recently, a few years ago, and the aliens come with some kind of electromagnetic blue beam type thing that linked everybody around the world that would heal them. Although I didn't watch it all there. But how much of a sort of alien sci-fi fiction nut are you, Mark? You know, do you kind of enjoy to watch a lot of this stuff, or is
I never did until until that one night that I told you about in 2018 when I saw the crap in the sky. I always disliked sci-fi stuff. I never watched it whatsoever. Up until the time I was 40-something years old, I never watched it. But after January 25th, 2018, I mean, after seeing what I saw and diving into trying to figure out what the heck I saw, I totally delve into all of it. And now, you know, I'm at the point to where I'm like, well, yeah, maybe science fiction isn't exactly fiction.
all right? So just because share with us what you did see back in 2018, it kind of give you a little bit of a change of heart. And because you saw something you couldn't explain, and seeing something you couldn't explain, you started researching. So let us know, what was that all about?
I was actually at a friend's house in Baton Rouge, and I don't know. I mean, we sat around, drank a couple beers. I might have, you know, smoked a little bit. You know, back then I was smoking a whole lot, but I wasn't messed up. Is what I'm trying to say.
Right,
I mean,
right.
It was just a normal, everyday routine thing for me. You know. So anyway, I left her house about, I guess, sometime around midnight, crossed the Mississippi River Bridge, and it was a foggy night in Baton Rouge. The Exxon chemical plant is right there, and they got, you know, in certain conditions, they got what's called wet surface air coolers that put off a lot of moisture into the air that actually contribute a lot to fog in certain conditions, whatnot. But anyway, I drove out of the city, went across the bridge, and as soon as you cross the Mississippi River Bridge out of Baton Rouge, you go into basically pretty much nothing but sugarcane fields. I mean, everything is sugarcane and soybean. So I crossed the river, and as I was going down the highway, the fog started to clear, and I happened to look to my left, and what I saw in the sky, it wasn't blinking lights, it wasn't any kind of ship or anything like that. If the only way I can explain it is it looked like comets coming straight at me in a forward trajectory, coming straight for me. It would look like orange fireballs, and there was a bunch of them that kind of faded in and out. and I looked, I was like, oh my God, what the hell is this? You know, so I even pulled over on the side of the highway, and I was going to take a picture of it and videotape it. And sure as shit, I had left my phone at my friend's house
Right.
that I had just left. So I turned around and I kept watching it. I even stopped. They had a little casino right before the bridge going back. I almost went into that store just to grab somebody and pull them out and say, look.
Yeah, right.
What is this? You know, it was that intense, you know. And so anyway, I go back to my friend's house to go get my phone, and I actually drove back into the fog, you know, back to where it was foggy. But, you know, went and knocked on her door, and she came outside, and you could still see the remnants of it, even through the fog. You could still see some glowing stuff. So she, you know, she came outside, she saw it too, and I had another friend the very same night take a picture from an entire another part of town. He took a picture from his backyard, seeing the same orange glow that I saw.
And he was a distance away, right? He's not like a neighbor.
Oh no, way across town.
Okay. Now, at the time, were there any other local reports of this?
Yeah, and this guy was actually one of my best friends that just happened to be outside that night and caught the same thing. If I could actually get into my old phone, I could actually pull up that photograph and give it to you today, but it's got a broken screen, so I got to get that fixed just so I could get into the
Right.
phone. But it was that night. I mean, it was me, my friend that I had left her house. Her son came outside. He saw it too. Everybody saw it. So it wasn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't just a figment of my imagination.
Right, yeah.
And there was absolutely no explanation for it whatsoever. It was not, you know, in Louisiana, you got a lot of chemical plants, and a lot of times you'll see orange glows in the skies when some of these plants flare off. They're chemicals from the plants and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's a known phenomenon down there, you know, seeing that type of thing. But this was by no means that. I'm telling you that whatever this was, it didn't look. I'm not going to say it was some kind of UFO or nothing. It looked celestial.
Right.
I mean, it was something that looked celestial. I don't know if any of you remember when that last comet. What was it? Hail bomb.
Yeah.
Did any of you see that?
I did. I saw pictures of it, but not so much. But the Halibut, that was. But that was a little bit of your seeing is believing moment, or seeing something that you can't explain. Up until then, had you been sort of a skeptic about such things, or had you always been a little bit curious?
Man, up until that point, the only thing I was really paying attention to is how the weather was changing and watching chemtrails.
Right.
Wow. That's about as awake as I was. And it just turned my life around trying to figure out what the hell I saw that night in the sky. And I don't know, since January of 2018, I think I've been in and out of every single rabbit hole there is.
And are you any closer to any explanation, or? No. I mean,
it actually led me into the whole Planet X thing. You know, that's what it drove me to, was the whole entire Planet X and going through a debris field, and this is what's gonna happen next. You know, that the Planet X is coming. It's coming with debris, and there's gonna be meteors and this, that, and the other. And that's why I actually, when you asked the question, what's going to be the next apocalypse? Remember that post you made?
Yeah, choose.
That's why I was like, hands up, it's going to be asteroids.
Well, a little bit something I've always said.
Aliens have been here. I think our entire existence
is alien based. So you'd think there'd be a more of an asteroid threat than on a destructive level than aliens.
Personally, yeah. But I mean, the whole thing is set up as a script. It can work out. There's so many different ways. It can work out. It could be volcanoes. It could be earthquakes. It could be, you know, pole shift. There's so many different things that have been laid out for us to follow and chase. There's no telling. You know, there's no telling. But the whole alien thing, I mean, I'm one of those people, I really, really do believe the whole entire Anunnaki story. I think that's part of how we are who we are. The whole, even stuff that is Bible related. I mean, I'm not a religious person by any means. I mean, I look at all, and I'm very thankful for that, because it allows me to keep an open mind to investigate any situation, you know, all of it. It allows me to be able to look at all of it constructively. But the whole Anunnaki thing, you know, and I'm going all the way back to the Egyptians, and I don't know, there's definitely something to it all, no doubt about it. You know, it's like, what's that Bon Jovi song? It's all the same, only the names have changed.
Only the names have been changed, right? They're reading from the same script. Now, Becky, you got a little bit excited. Let's bring you in a little bit here about Planet X. You kind of put your hand up and jumped. So Is that something you're a little bit aware of, or curious about, or?
Absolutely, absolutely. The Nibiru, there's actually a little lady that I watch that um, she shows like 10-minute videos of weather cameras in Alaska and shows the it's hard to explain. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, the cloaking of the sun to hide these planets that are
Right.
rotating up at our North Pole. Some say it's Nibiru, some say Planet X, some say it's the red and blue. Help me, Mark.
Red and blue between them.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Teamwork.
You're talking about
And it may all be related. I mean, that red and blue Kachina those could be part of the Nibiru system. But I totally believe. Call me crazy.
Remember where you are.
It is what it is. But I totally believe that we've got something happening in our solar system that the powers that be of this earth do not want us to see, and I really suspect that it's Nibiru. We've seen who follows Blue Kool-Aid out there, the Wages World. Have y'all seen him? And
Okay.
he shows these pictures of the sun, the weather, space weather. Well, every once in a while, he picks up these things that look like a probe picking up energy from the sun.
Yeah.
You know, Jill, you've seen that?
I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah, and these solar flares, like, here'll be this object, and it hits the sun. Well, there'll be a solar flare on the other side. And then it'll pick up a round object, you know, like several times the size of our Earth. But I totally believe that Planet X system is here. And yeah, I'm one of the religious ones. I think it's all biblical.
It is the end of days.
I just do.
And this is a little bit, like yesterday, all out apocalypse. What are they going to throw at us next? Are they kind of, are we choosing our own reality depending on how popular these pieces of fiction are? Like, hey, they really like zombie stuff. Let's give them zombies. Hey, aliens are popular this week. Do you know, it is like the choose your own adventure books. And,
We have our own holodeck.
Yeah, very much. I mean, this could almost sort of go into the realms of simulated reality or sort of Pokemon. There, we'll have to do simulated reality another day, I think. But the realms of Pokemon Go, we had an augmented reality. People were chasing augmented monsters. Now they don't necessarily need to augment things if they can put the power, with the fear of COVID. Is the fear more deadly than the virus? Is the symptoms of being locked up? And a little bit back, Orson Welles' War of the World, the psychological effect. Are they kind of giving us what we need to keep our minds occupied? But Jill, you're a Star Wars nerd, a little bit like me. In regards to, and I've got my little Star Wars things going on here and there, but I read a very disturbing article a little bit of a time ago about Planet X, and it said that it was metallic. Now, when we talk about, is it a fucking Death Star, right? Are they on their way with it? Who's to know if or not? This thing, if it's coming towards us, what if it is a giant space station with the capacity to destroy a planet? And something Mark mentioned earlier about cloaking, and you just mentioned also, Becky, cloaking. Are they chemtrailing the sky so that we can't see what's really there? And are they just projecting or using drones or lower level kind of objects to make it look as though we're seeing the sky above?
I think that's a plausible explanation. it just goes right hand in glove with trying to make this world a ghost town. What are they trying to do while we've been preoccupied with this stuff? And then, nobody's on the streets for a year. What are we doing? And an interesting thing, you mentioned the Death Star. On one of those Alaskan webcams, one of the planets, as it like starts rising, and you can see it rotating. Well, there's like a big eye on it.
And I like the Death Star.
It's reminiscent of the Death Star.
Well, so yeah, maybe we're going to need to get some X-wing fighters of our own and go up and attack it if it does come. But that is a very disturbing thought. Now, Maiden, you've also got some very interesting sort of childhood family UFO stories that you were telling us about a little bit earlier in sort of families. Not necessarily urban legends, but sort of sitting around the kitchen table. You had some interesting alien-related stories. Would you like to share some of those with us?
Yeah, but before I forget,
okay.
Going back to that cloaking thing, remember when they shut down that observatory, the Sun Observatory?
Yeah.
A couple years ago? And there's actually two of them that got shut down in that same area. Yeah. Anyways, what were they hiding then? It wasn't, horror movies.
That's they came out and said that there was a murder or some shit. But yeah, actually, Wages World, or Blue Kool-Aid as it was back then, I mean, we all saw that when that video first came out. There was a little something that flew across that screen, and around something that flew across that. Mm-hmm. Everybody saw it, and it went viral, and immediately they shut down that observatory for a while and claimed there was some kind of murder bullshit going on. But yes.
I saw that.
Everybody.
So anyways, like the childhood stories. Well, growing up, my grandpa always told the story of when he had gone grocery shopping. My grandpa lived on a farm way, 7 miles to the nearest town, and they'd gone probably about 40 miles to go grocery shopping at the next biggest town. When my uncle was a little boy, so that probably about 65 years ago. And when they came back home and were driving down this country road, they had stopped a minute at my great-grandparents' farm, which was right down on the bottom of the hill. And they looked to their farmhouse that was just, a little bit east of there, just right up the hill. And they saw my grandpa, my grandma, my great-grandpa, and my uncle, who was a little boy about 4 or 5 years old, saw a saucer-shaped type of UFO hovering over their farmhouse. And I grew up hearing that story, and so I have seen weird things I can't explain up here myself. I've never seen the saucer as far as I remember, but maybe that memory loss is associated with UFO abductions might play some part in it. I don't know. Just kidding. But my mom has seen things she can't explain. My stepdad's ranch had a cattle mutilation back in the late 80s, early 90s that was investigated and looked at, and a couple other ranches in the area had the same weird, unexplainable mutilations,
So it's sort of something you've really, it's been normal, as long as you've been alive, you've had people around you that, your mom, your dad, your they've all got kind of UFO stories, they've all got experiences. And, as I said, once upon a time, if you were somebody that was into UFOs, you'd be labeled, a tinfoil hat, he's a whack job, he believes in aliens. But again, we kind of see here, we have a wide demographic of people, Becky, Mark, and Maiden, and myself, we're all different people from different walks of life, but we all have very similar views on aliens. Let me just look. We've got a couple of questions. Let's see what the people in chat are saying, because we've kind of ignored them a little bit there for a while. But no, it's okay. They can get you. Sometimes they ignore me. It's only fair that I ignore them. What goes around comes around. But
there you go.
Oh wait, DS, you should post on the Reality Decoded Facebook page. I think that was to DS, not Mark. But what did a little talking about mutilations? A few weeks ago, Martha mentioned the deers. At the time, I thought she said that the deers had COVID, but it was something completely unrelated. That the hunters, they shot a deer, but when they went to retrieve the body, it was all like falling to pieces and mutilated. Do you think this?
Chronic wasting disease.
Yeah, that was I think what was mentioned at the time. Now, could you sort of relate that possibly to cattle mutilation? Do aliens just feel the need to maybe mutilate cows or sheep, or could
No,
they
it's
also?
totally unrelated.
You don't think those two are connected at all?
No,
Um,
no. The chronic wasting disease. I mean, it's literally kind of like you talked about mad cow. Remember mad cow?
yeah.
I mean, it's literally a virus or something that they get. It's a sickness. It doesn't have anything to do with any kind of mutilations or anything like that. What I personally think is actually, I mean, it's a totally conspiratorial type stuff, but I think that's something that was introduced into wildlife to make sure that people are scared to go out and just shoot a deer to eat. So now you got to worry about this animal having some sort of disease and you don't want to eat it now. So it's more to instill fear in people. Not only that, but for the control mechanism. So now every time you kill one, you need to bring it over here and go get it tested and checked out instead of just any survivalist person going out and getting themselves some food to survive.
Yeah.
I think it was instilled programming. And I think it was all done on purpose.
It's all part of
But
pest
I don't think it had
control
anything to do
or
with
something,
aliens.
right? And it makes sense. I mean, this is if we are sort of led to believe that we are truly going into the one world order and they are going to be the state that provides everything for everybody, then it would go without saying that they don't want people to be able to be self-sufficient and be able to go out and hunt their own wildlife. So maybe make the wildlife extinct, then we have to eat maybe their cloned plant-based deer and venison and stuff like this. And this is what they're really promoting. So what have we been going for about an hour now? Has anybody got? I mean, we could probably go on indefinitely, but has anybody got anything else? I mean, I've got no time strains. We do make this up as we go along, but if you guys need like restroom breaks or got other family commitments, then we can wrap this up. But if anybody has anything that they want to add now, dive in. Keep the thoughts going.
Well, I kind of hoped on touching on the whole idea, and if Rocket Chick's still here, she's going to appreciate this. But the whole alien thing, and actually our entire existence, do we really live on a planet in the solar system, or is this actually a created realm for higher dimensional beings to have a three-dimensional existence? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, definitely. What I'm saying, this is kind of a little bit, kind of my geek words world that they sent Thor back to Earth to have an earthly experience because he was a celestial being. He was the god of, or the son of the god of thunder. Odin. He was the god of thunder, but he come back. So maybe this might explain abductions, that they want to sort of understand mortality. So that's why they come and start probing and seeing what the effects, because they don't know how to affect that. Is that something that you're suggesting would be possible?
Yeah, sort of, I guess. I guess my thing is that once you start really delving into esoteric type stuff, esoteric knowledge, occult knowledge, which everybody is, we've been led to believe that type of knowledge is evil, and I 100% disagree with that. It's all right. This is the one thing I know, and see, this is the kind of thing, and I know, some people believe, and I do not use that word loosely. In fact, I've almost eradicated it from my vocabulary. Uh, but the way religions have been put forth and what actually created the actual creator of this realm that we exist in. Is that a benevolent or a malevolent being? Is there a higher power, even higher than that,
Right.
that is I'm at a loss for it's kind of hard to say what I'm trying to say.
But no, I kind of get you. It's like, where does it
You're
begin and
making
where does it
sense.
end?
I'm one of those, I do believe in a higher power, but I'm also one of those too that I choose to serve no master whatsoever. I don't choose the left, I don't choose the right. I pride myself in walking the straight and narrow path and focusing on my own truth within myself. And I think this is a big thing that a lot of people have a problem with when we start talking about these things like aliens and such. Because, when you start talking about aliens and who actually created this realm, people start getting itchy skin, so to speak. It's because a lot of people like to believe that this and we were created just out of some random stuff or created for one particular person or purpose. I think that it's possible when you start delving into the Anunnaki thing. I think it is truly possible that the human race was actually created genetically to be a slave race.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way Maiden said that. It's very funny, actually. I'll let Maiden jump in, but what you're talking about there, Rick and Morty. I don't know if you've watched Rick and Morty, the cartoon, or if you've ever seen it. It's very, very quirky. A lot of kind of stuff hidden in there, a little bit like The Simpsons. But there was one episode in particular where Rick, he is like an evil genius scientist, and he has a spaceship, but he created an entire universe to be the battery for his spaceship. And these people in the universe, they are a slave race that are powering his spaceship. Over to you, Montana, because you were, yes, the slave race. Have you got some thoughts to add?
Well, one of the most mind-blowing books I'd ever read as a young woman, I was probably only about 18 or 19 when I read the book, was a book called The Gods of Eden by William Bromley. And it touched on that as, they have, the historic different hieroglyphics and texts that kind of, this man made the theory about us being a created slave race for alien beings that came to Earth.
You could call it the devil's playground.
The devil's playground.
Yeah.
Possibly. And what are they, are we like livestock? Are we for experimentation purposes? What do you think, if that was the case, our enslavement to these higher beings would be?
What do I think?
Yeah.
All of it. And think about how the powers that be keep people fighting over stupid stuff like what color your skin is or who you voted for.
Yeah, exactly. It's a
Or
very,
if
very
you
big...
believe in aliens or not. I mean, there's always two sides, and that's all they let you have is two sides. And two sides that like to fight back and forth, so that we're never paying attention to the bigger picture.
And this is...
We're never truly united on anything, and that's... I don't know. To me, it seems like it's a part of some kind of plan.
I mean, yeah, that in itself is like,
I don't know what y'all's thoughts are on like the David Wilcock or the Corey Good in their description of all of these different alien races, from the reptilians to the Dracos to the blue avians to what's in Antarctica with the stargates that they're finding. And what do y'all think about David Wilcock's teaching?
Well, he did a lot of stuff. If it's the same David Wilcox, which I pretty much think it would be, there can't be that many. But he did a lot of looking into the Looking Glass in the time travel kind of or time communication devices. And he also looked a lot. He did about 2007, 2008. He did a documentary called Enigma, the 2012. I can't remember the phenomenon or syndrome. Now, the Mayan calendar operated differently to the calendar that we use, and they translated the Mayan calendar using our calendar. In the Mayan 2012 hasn't happened yet. It's still about 20 or 30 years away because they had a different character thing to that. And a lot of that was kind of a little bit based on sort of alien technology in the sort of Looking Glass, being able to see not only into the future but into different realms or different dimensions or alternative timelines and stuff like that. But if anyone else wants to sort of jump in with some thoughts there, I mean, it's very interesting stuff that he mentioned.
It's funny you mentioned that because everybody remembers the series and the movies Stargate.
Right.
With the portals. All right, now all you got to do is think about that, and also think about what CERN is and what a hadron collider does. Well, what do you think that really is? Do you think they're actually generating energy from that?
No, well,
No, it's a portal.
They're opening
portal. Yeah.
Right.
I'm with you. We have our own Stargate.
Yeah, no, I can well believe it. Now, another recent sort of alien-themed franchise was the Cloverfield movies. And the third one in the series had sort of a kind of a Looking Glass type technology, but it had merged two dimensions together, and that was what was sort of causing all these crazy weather phenomenons and was sucking in people from one dimension into another dimension. Do you think that might be something that's going on now? I mean, Becky, earlier you mentioned about the red and the blue, and I've noticed how purple everything is at the minute. So is sort of the red and the blue merged in the middle? Is this all the kind of atmospheric disruption because of not necessarily alien objects in our atmosphere, but maybe dimensions forming? It sounds crazy, but
absolutely could be. Because if it's up there close to our sun, close to where anything could reflect off of this blue and this red planet, it is going to cast purple, and that could be the reason that everybody's focused on purple right now.
I mean, yeah, the more you kind of look, the more you can escape purple. It's sort of saturate, even like a little bit in your picture, it seems. I mean, we're looking in black and white, but it's color on my side of the screen. You've got a little bit of purple going on in your camera lens there, Becky.
Pink.
No, not there, like the lights. You get in some flashes there.
No, lighting. Yeah, the lighting is kind of
lighting. Well, that's just reflection off of
Damn
my
you.
computer.
Right, the glare of that. But anyway,
better if I take my glasses off?
No, you look so very distinguished with your, like Professor Pamplin, as I like to call you. Mark, is there any chance you can point your camera at the moon, see if we can get a shot of it, or is it hidden? Because it was spectacular earlier.
It is gone. From the time that y'all saw that, I was standing outside. The sky is completely gray and covered now.
Oh wow!
You can see it. Look in the background.
Yeah, it's all
completely. Wow. Look, it's probably right about there. That glow.
Now, do you think that is atmospheric conditions, or is that because they kind of sprayed a little bit over at the nights because they don't want us to see what's going on above the because Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I'm pretty sure we've all seen that movie and can familiarize ourselves with it. And also Independence Day, when the UFOs come, they come under the guise of cloud, right? And then they drench,
those UFO-shaped clouds. Mark's seen them too.
Oh, I got pictures too.
Yeah, me too. Like the big ones over the mountains that look like just a big mothership hanging out.
And that was.
I pointed it out to some guy one time, and he said, "Oh, it's because of the temperature of this, and it comes up." And I'm like, "No, bullshit, man." It's
Right. And I can say bullshit too, because I lived in that same mountainous area for like 20 years, and yeah, bullshit. That didn't happen all the time.
Right.
No. I mean, big old pancake-looking things. It's not a. It's not a cloud, a normal cloud structure of any sort. You know, especially being from Louisiana, and as like I said before, it's one of those This is one of the issues, or one of the topics that I first started noticing stuff, is noticing how cloud structure began. And you know, being in a place where there's lots of chemical plants, it could be a clear blue sky, and you'll see a big old cloud sitting over on top of a chemical plant, because they have lots of steam generated equipment and wet surface air coolers, like I mentioned earlier. You kind of think about how clouds are formed, and as long as you put a little bit of common sense to it, or it's like this. You know, I'm Italian. When I cook a big pot of spaghetti, there's a lot of steam in my kitchen. It doesn't form a cloud. It goes and it dissipates. You know what I mean? Steam goes up and it dissipates. That's what it does. So what causes cloud structure to form into the clouds, what we see with our own eyes every day now? And I know one thing: when I was a kid, there were 3 different cloud types.
Yeah.
And now there's like 20-something different cloud types just in 20, 30 years time. I mean, I'm 50, you know, so it hadn't been that long, you know, since there were, you know, call it 30 years. We'll say 30 years. 30 years ago, there were only 3 different cloud types, and now there's 20-something different cloud types.
Yeah, how does that happen, you know?
How does that happen?
Now, you mentioned
Like they discovered new clouds or something.
they mutated like COVID does, the cloud mutations, and it's a new variant of cloud. But you mentioned down in Louisiana, like the Exxon Valdez, that was where that happened. But there's a lot of these kind of power plants and chemical plants down in who knows what they're putting up in the steam.
That wreck happened up in Alaska. But I grew up. My dad worked for Exxon, you know, which used to be Standard Oil. There's so much history behind, you know, all the chemical plants there, you know, coming up into Louisiana, and there's so many plants from Baton Rouge all the way down to the Gulf. It's nothing but chemical plants all along the Mississippi River. And actually, it's kind of a funny story. Huey P. Long was the governor of Louisiana a long time ago, built a bridge across the river that actually stopped all big ships. Baton Rouge is as far up as you can go up the river with a big ship. Everything from that point on goes by barge. It goes by barge and tugboats. But the plants, I used to live out in, like I told you, where I lived, I had the opportunity to drive into work every day and see for a very long distance, because it was all farmland. Everything in between the Mississippi River and the Chaffalay River, which used to be a flood basin before they built levees, is all flatlands. It's all fertile farmland. And I actually had the opportunity to be able to look and see. I knew where every plant was, and I could see every cloud above every plant. I could see how they formed, and it made sense. That made sense. You're pumping out a whole bunch of moisture out of the air, and it makes a cloud. That makes sense. You know, when you look at the big picture of how they say cloud nucleation takes place, it really makes no sense whatsoever. Even during the winter. All right, so, and Joe being in Montana, being cold. So what? You're telling me that water is evaporating when it's 0 degrees?
And it's frozen?
Right, and they form clouds that go like this around and around and then puff out. So you know a real cloud from a fake cloud, and yeah, there are differences between contrails and chemtrails, and you can see the sprayers. I've taken video of and zoomed in as close as I could on my cell phone to see the spraying system on these weird, just all white planes. And then they started spraying like kind of a grayish spray sometimes too. That you'd see it would make weird shadow-like trails versus the white puffy ones.
Yeah, I've seen that too. And that did not happen when we were kids, and they still had jets when we were kids. And they didn't leave lines across the sky that just stayed there and formed clouds. Now, one thing I've heard about that is the whole solar radiation management concept that you've all heard about grand solar minimum. That's another one of these things that we hear about. It's another one of the apocalyptic kind of thing. Everything goes through cycles, which we know it does. We do know that everything goes in cycles. That's apparent. Even as much of recorded history that we do have, we can notice cycles of things. Now, are all these things natural, or are they created, or have they always been created, for a very, very, very long time?
A little bit again like a video game, right? That you have to play the game to complete the game, but the game only goes in one direction, right? And you level up each time. And are we kind of each year or each decade or so we level up to the next boss, and the next boss is the next big environmental cataclysmic event, whatever that may be. In the early 21st century we had the 9/11 big boss event, and now 20 years later we're having the COVID big boss event.
Jumanji.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a very popular movie, and they also made the space one, Zahara or Zathara something. I can't remember, but it was very similar to Jumanji, but the game took place in space.
Yeah.
And was there some time travel or something going on? They met the older brother was.
I remember that. It hadn't been long since I've seen it. He met himself. He's the one that saved himself.
Yeah.
Look, I just walked back in and sat and looked at the chat. I see my friend Rocker Chick said the new clouds are a Mandela effect.
Yeah, I was gonna mention.
They are.
Well, I always had my theory on the Mandela effect back within the realms of Back to the Future. And the Mandela effect is a little bit like when Marty went back to 1955 and he kind of told his dad to toughen up. And then when he come back to 1985, his dad was an author. They had a BMW on the drive and everything was a little bit different. And again, time travel is another big sort of thing that I'm very, very interested in. But, let's just say that maybe time travel exists. They're sending information or sending travelers back to the past. Could tampering with the past have an environmental effect? Is this why we used to have 3 clouds when we were kids, and now all of a sudden there's 23 because people have gone back, and maybe the parallel universe, we're all in multiple dimensions at once, or multiple timelines at once?
That's an interesting thing to talk about. And see, that goes back into the concept of what I was trying to say earlier about the fact that this could very possibly just be a created realm, a virtual reality realm for soul growth. All right, this is what I think. I'm just going to lay it out there. I think we're all here. I think we're all spiritual beings here to have a human experience.
I believe the same thing.
That is what it is. It is. There's no doubt about it. And I do believe that. I said believe. I don't like to think. I don't like to use that word. I do
I
think,
believe.
or should I say, no, that the whole thing is a soul growth thing, and certain beings. I think some of us have done this over and over and over again for thousands of years. I think we've done. And it's till eventually you get to a point to where you wake up, like many of us are at a certain point of knowing this, and then we can actually escape this matrix and get out of here.
Excuse me.
Like it's like when you pass on, you got to keep that with you. You got to know.
And again, that might even be a little bit like the video game that you level up. Once you've decoded the matrix, you might get a little message. Congratulations, you have won the phase 2. Right?
Exactly like that. So let's move on. Yeah. So you go to, just like a video game, you move on to the next level.
And that's right. In the end of that level, there's a bigger and badder boss to kill. I did make a comment once some time ago that Atari programmed our future. Space invaders and asteroids when we first were introduced to video games and electronics. That was the popular theme, Space Invaders. Now, Jill, and I don't know about Mark, you said you weren't into sci-fi as much, but The Last Starfighter, do you remember that movie in the 80s? Becky does.
That was the kid that he played the video games, right? That was the video game kid?
Yeah, and when he got the high score and he completed the game, aliens come down and goes, congratulations, you've passed the test. We need you to fight in the Federation. That's kind of a little similar to what sort of Mark kind of said in not necessarily gaining the spiritual, soulful experience, but leveling up. That this individual was on Earth, and once all of a sudden that he kind of passed the test to ascend. And by playing the video game, that's what happened. Now, a little bit more recently, I think 2015, there was a movie called Pixels. I don't know if you can remember that. Adam Sandler was in it. And all of a sudden, all the 1980s video games invaded Earth. They were real. Pac-Man was real. Space Invaders were real. Asteroids were. And these kids that had the high score in the arcades back in the day, they're like, yeah, we kind of need you to rescue the world because you know how to beat Pac-Man. And Pac-Man come down, he's like gobbling up people through the streets. It's a very quirky movie, and certainly if you were a Gen Xer, the nostalgia value for the old Atari games. And in the time since we've had Atari to now, games have got so much more advanced. So if we've become this advanced and we are living in a simulation or a video game, how much more advanced is the technology that controls us got? If this is what we can do in our realms, how much are we all living on a holodeck in a mothership, or is our Earth just some teenage aliens Farmville, right? And
isn't that a crazy thought? Isn't that just a mind-blowing thought? But yeah, I mean, it could be possible. Who knows? Who would have thought in the movie The Matrix that the Matrix was the reality? Ours could
be laid it all out in the Matrix.
And the choice is yours to know.
Oh my goodness, that thing! I don't know what you do to upset the little bar that keeps popping up, Jill. I don't know if you're noticing it. But there you go. What are we at? We're at nearly 78 minutes. That's nearly an hour and a half, guys. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I could go on, but I am kind of starting to get a little bit cross-legged because partly why I do the presentation is I do got a 50-year-old bladder. Now, Mark, you mentioned you were Italian. Are you Calabrese or Napolitan?
Am I what?
Are you Calabrese or Napolitan?
No, I'm Sicilian.
Oh, you're Sicilian. Okay. Because normally the Italians, they're either Calabrese or the immigrants or from Napoli. But you're Sicilian.
I'm Sicilian. Both of my grandfathers were full-blooded Sicilian, and both of my grandmothers were Irish.
Right, right.
I'm a hot mess.
So you're a little bit of a mix. I don't know what's going on now. Something's popped up and I've lost Becky and Jill. Go away, stupid.
I'm here.
No, I
I'm
mean,
here still. I can see me.
I can see you, but I can't see you. They can't see you this side on the screen. I don't know what's going on now. Oh goodness, I'm getting all kerfuffled with this. There we go. No, it's still not gone. I think it might be the rubber band. If you don't know, I actually do have my phone rubber band. That's how we're kind of streaming. Is that infinity?
Kind of went away. There you go.
See, and that's what keeps popping up. You see what I'm saying? I don't know why
Mm-hmm.
we're doing that. But as I said, we've been going for about 80 minutes now. Should we have a little look and see if there's any comments from the chat that want to be addressed before we because I do got a presentation part planned. About an hour of stuff, which is going to look at a little bit of kind of how the mainstream is all up in the alien agenda, trying to bring it all back to sort of where we started off, because that was a wonderful, and that's why it's kind of nice to be able to sort of do this, because we've got no sort of restrictions. We can go in any direction we sort of want. But with today's times, contemporary issues, the alien agenda is very, very, very prominent. What are your expectations for the rest of the year in terms of what we might see from the mainstream in terms of this? And are we going to? What are the government going to release when they do eventually have to cough up these documents?
To cough up these documents.
Yeah, well, they got till June 27th or 26th. They had there was some bill passed where the government, like, we know, or they said to the government, we know that you've got documentation on UFOs. We need to know exactly what you've got. You need to present this to Congress so that we can decide what to do with it. And this is kind of being more prioritized at the moment in the United States government than anything related to vaccines, COVID, and all this stuff. And again, we've got this very disturbing fact that FEMA are already ready in place in 11 states, just like they were ready and waiting to go on 9/11. What are they ready and waiting for? And are they possibly in place for, like the V situation where the motherships come over the big major cities and cause some destruction? And lucky FEMA were there to pick up some of the casualties, both human and alien, as one potential scenario.
The playing field is left so wide open, they can play out absolutely any single situation. You know what I mean? It's all set up. It's the most important thing for us to do right now, as people like us, is to just be where you're going to be, get set up, be able to survive, grow your own food, and be able to be self-sufficient. As long as you're able to do that, who freaking cares what happens? Who cares how it plays out?
Now, let's just say if the aliens come down to your front yard this evening and said, Mark, hop on, we're going on an adventure, would you jump on?
Let's go.
Same question to you, ladies.
I want to drive the ship.
I don't know if that's a good idea. The last time they let a woman drive a spaceship, it blew up. I'm talking about the Challenger.
Dude, no.
They were like, she's the first woman, let her have a little go. Boom. What does this button do?
Well, hey, here's a little secret, too. There wasn't nobody on that fucking spaceship.
No, you're right. It was radio controlled, right? Yeah, because I think some of the astronauts even showed up in later on TV in certain events and things.
Nobody died on that shit. That was another big false flag.
But no, I'd let you have a go on our spaceship, Becky. I'd let you be captain of the ship for a little while. And what about you, Maiden? Would you jump on and go to a galaxy far, far away?
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It depends on what the aliens look like. I don't want.
Right, yeah, I mean, if they're looking... Oh my god, that...
Maybe if they're the tall, handsome, blonde ones that David Wilcox talks about, maybe I'd get on this. Like Thor coming down, I'd get on with Thor.
Well, yeah, I'm
You're more of a Nordic chick as opposed to an avian chick or
yes,
reptile chick. Gotcha.
Yeah. Not a reptile chick, no. Or the big buggy-eyed ones, no.
No, you wouldn't go with those.
I'll take the Nordic dudes.
Oh my goodness, the thing keeps popping up. I'm sure it's doing it on purpose now. Okay, guys, well, let's at that point wrap this up. This has been a wonderful, pleasurable experience. I hope you guys in the panel enjoyed it, and certainly hope that the guys watching enjoyed it. As I said, I do got a little bit of a presentation to watch for the next hour or so if anyone's interested. About what the mainstream are saying, but thank you guys. And do you want to do a little individual goodbye before you go back and hang out in the chat? No. Okay, off to the naughty corner, and there we go. Let's throw up our V's or
the naughty corner, and just so you know, I can drive a stick.
I'm sure you can, Becky. I don't doubt your capabilities at all. And I'm pretty sure you'd be the Sigourney Weaver of our group if we did have. I could see Mark being the guy with the thing coming out of the belly if that happened.
The aliens would kick me off the ship.
Look, Jill, Maiden is in the naughty corner. Look. She's turned her back, like, you've got to put your hands on your head. That's what I used to have to do at school. Sit in the corner with your hands on your head. Alrighty.
I was.
Okay. You can turn around now, Jill. Your timeout is over. So, all right, guys. As I said, it's been wonderful, wonderful experience. The glitch the first time obviously was a little bit of a hiccup, but we kind of rectified that and come out shining a little bit. I wouldn't say we're smelling of roses, maybe tulips. They're not as fragrant. But that's it. So anyway, guys, thank you for your time and contributions here. I'm pretty sure this isn't going to be the last time we see all of you again. And thank you, certainly, Mark, for your input and contributions to this stream. And as I said, we could have probably gone on all night, but I really do need to pee before I wet myself. As I said, 50-year-old prostates and such forth. So wave your goodbyes.
I did that while y'all were outside with me.
Brilliant. Look how much that tickled baby P. And I'm glad you're comfortable enough that you can.
And I'll tell you why that's hilarious. Is because I raised 3 boys, and I know what boys do when they go outside. It's like, dude, wait till dark. You know, we have neighbors, so that's why that was funny. I had fun with raising my boys.
The fun you had with your boys.
Being a male.
Exactly. Yeah. I have to find a shrub.
Oh my goodness, that thing. Anyway, on that note, before we go into God knows what rabbit holes, good night to you, my trusty panelists and wench wrenches. Thank you again, as always. And I'm going to actually get the presentation up and start rolling that, and we can hang up off air. All right, guys.
Awesome, great. It was nice being had.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you very much. Hang on, I need to do some stuff. All right, guys, the camera is off, and I'm just going to press play on the presentation, and you can enjoy.
the Pentagon was given 180 days to release a detailed report containing evidence of UFO sightings by the military, including objects spotted traveling at the speed of light without a sonic boom. We've been talking about this a lot on DBL, and as we get closer to June 1st, former U.S. Director of Intelligence John Ratcliffe is giving us some new insider information. Take a look.
I actually wanted to get this information out and declassified before I left office, but we weren't able to get it down into an unclassified format that we could talk about quickly enough. But frankly, there are a lot more sightings than have been made public.
And it's correction, speed of sound, not speed of light. It goes on to say that there is no easy way to explain video of these encounters like this one we've seen showing a UFO doing impossible aerial maneuvers.
The whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. The whole thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's another thing, it's rotating.
Wow, and check out this reaction from pilots who spotted another UFO back in 2015.
Check out this one thing. Roger, over. Roger, there's shooting. Did you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow. Look at the fly.
Wow. So what do you think, TBL Nation? Will we actually learn anything new from the declassified information set to be released on June 1st? This is your territory, Jeff.
I'm just interested in it. I love it. I don't know if one of those were the Commander Fravor videos or whatever, but that Tic Tac video is exactly what I'm talking about. They do maneuvers that break the barrier of sound, like you said, but without sound. Wow. They're dropping hundreds of thousands of feet down to ocean level and going back up and making maneuvers and turns that we can't do, humans can't do, right? So I'm thrilled about it. I like this stuff. I hope they come out with some more stuff, but I mean, I'm just a fan, I guess.
And I can't wait. I actually think, and I know you razzed me about this, I actually think, and Erica chime in, that this is a very empathetic race. I think they're going to be here to help us.
She thinks they just came from Tulum, Mexico after a retreat. Like, no, this is not from the planet Eat, Pray, Love, Sam. They're coming here to take our stuff.
No, they are not. No, you don't know that. Erica, chime
please.
in.
I like how the moment that we, quote, as humankind, quote, discover something, then all of a sudden it's their time to start. Whoever this is, whatever they're doing, they've been there and been doing it. So whatever their plan is going to happen with or without us. Just because we hip to the clip now doesn't mean that something's about to start. Okay? It's up to them.
I say we send Erica as our representative for human beings.
Can I say hip to the clip? Would I be cool if I said that?
No, because you just asked permission, so you lost it right there.
Eric, I'm going to use hip to the clip when I go home.
Can I say super dope? No? Okay.
Very interesting moment over the weekend when Maria Bartiromo had John Ratcliffe. He's the former director of national intelligence under Donald Trump, where she asked him about UFOs. And here's something he had to say. Let's take a listen.
Frankly, there are a lot more sightings than have been made public. Some of those have been declassified. When we talk about sightings, we're talking about objects that have been seen by Navy or Air Force pilots or have been picked up by satellite imagery that, frankly, engage in actions that are difficult to explain, that movements that are hard to replicate, that we don't have the technology for, or traveling at speeds that, exceed the sound barrier without a sonic boom. So, in short, things that we are observing that are difficult to explain. It's not just a pilot or just a satellite or some intelligence collection. Usually we have multiple sensors that are picking up these things. And so, again, some of this are just their unexplained phenomenon. And there's actually quite a few more than have been made public. So I think it'll be healthy for as much of this information to get out there as possible.
Quite a few more that have been made public and difficult to explain. Those are exactly the words that we wanted to hear. A lot of people have asked about the COVID relief bill and about how it gave a 6-month ticking clock on the intel community, but I would not hold my breath on many of these things because I've always seen, as he said, we're not able to get it down to an unclassified way. Look, they're going to hide this for all they can. That's how it always goes, but it's always very useful, as we've seen with undersecretaries of defense like Christopher Mellon and others, people who are very much in the know, who come out and at least confirm the existence of the reports, because it took, one of the UFO incidents that was disclosed in 2017, like with the video, happened in 2005, right? So it took 12 years in order for that to come out. And in terms of other stuff which exists within DoD archives, there's the triangle-shaped object, which we still have never heard anything about. We recently had that American Airlines incident where an American Air pilot called in and was like, we have a large cylindrical object which just flew over us. There's no radar detection of any other aircraft in the area. American Air confirmed it was real. FBI confirmed. They were investigating, and now it's just whoosh, into the ether. So
and it seems like we keep getting these little nuggets and hints from people who would know.
Yeah.
So this is another example of that. You think about Harry Reid.
He's the top intelligence official.
Exactly. Yeah. If anyone knew, had like the full picture of what was going on, it would be a guy in a position like that. Pretty disappointing that Trump didn't declassify.
That's how I know it's real. I'll tell you why. Because if it wasn't, he would have declassified it. But the fact that it is shows you that even he was like, oh man, we can't put this out there. Because that's what they do, is that they're like, you can't put this out there because then the Chinese, they might use it, or who knows what. Nobody knows how much information the other side is holding. Everybody's got the information, but it's like a race to try and reverse engineer. I'm getting into it. None of this is confirmed.
And it seems like, I think the reason that they acknowledged any of it was because some of it came out into the public, and they could no longer just like bury their head in the sand and deny it. And also because you had pilots who, they actually had to create a system for these pilots to be able to report weird shit that they were seeing. So that's the only reason that we have insight into any of this, because of what leaked into the public sphere.
The sensory data is the most interesting part of that, and that's actually what we will, if they make it public, we'll spend a lot of time looking at, which is that acceleration. And if you can see that on your radar screen, whether you've seen other, instances of radar jamming, which is something that's been reported in previous incidents, if they can actually track velocity, because all of these are high-tech technology that we use in order to track missiles and these things, and if this objects are going faster than anything known, or breaking the sound barrier without a boom, or traveling 60 minutes, like 60 miles in a single second, these are all things which, if you can verify that on the screen, it just changes the whole picture of what's in the known universe. So it's very cool.
More sightings than have been made public. All right, more rising for you after this.
Okay, so there are new reports about a UFO sighting over the weekend. An American Airlines pilot reported the sighting over an area of New Mexico on Sunday. Here's what he reported seeing at the time.
Have any targets up here? We just had something go right over the top of us that, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object. It almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast that went right over the top of us.
Ooh, air traffic controllers reportedly didn't see anything on their radar, and the director of the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico confirmed there were no missile tests on that day. Yes.
Listen, Al. Listen, you talk, and I'm going to debunk everything you say.
I think I might surprise you, Jeff. I've talked with people that are staunch people that say that there's no aliens. I believe that there are. I believe that the people that have seen them seem to be credible people. I don't understand, as our boss is laughing.
Are you being serious?
I am being dead serious.
Yeah,
of course. You thought I was an anti-alien?
Well, there was some Snickers in the background.
No, that's our boss laughing at my take. Did you think I was going to be anti-alien?
I thought you were.
No, but there's a lot of planets that have very similar characteristics to ours. We're going to Mars. Why can't they do stuff?
Thank you. And we have an entire department. The Pentagon has already leaked so many documents that point to, Tori, all of these unidentified objects and alien life. So why are we surprised? Why do people not believe it? Why are we getting snickering in the studio?
I'll explain what I think is happening with Chris, and I don't mean to speak for him, but that part of the country, the New Mexico area, is where they do secretly test for missiles and new aircraft. So yes, could it be an alien? I hope so. I want to know that. Could it also have been an aircraft test that they didn't want to disclose? Yes.
What about these videos, though, of like that Tic Tac video with General Freiberg, who they're actively blocking the radar of our army? Like they're trying to get a hold of that thing and shoot something, not shoot it down, but shoot some radar onto it, and they're actively blocking that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, Tori.
Those are aliens. Those are aliens. Those are aliens.
That was easy.
Well, I thought that was an alien right when we started that clip. I don't know if someone closed.
That was Tori coughing.
All you heard.
It's an old cigar smoker watching the horse races.
Get me a gimlet. Get me a gimlet.
Coming up on DVD.
Something, it's a cover-up that they're gonna say, oh, we're testing this.
Oh, hell, look. Oh my God, that is crazy. I know. That is crazy.
What? Hey, dude, that bright. That's
dude, what is that?
Everybody calling out.
No, don't. They're gonna be like,
bro. That's not nasty.
No, ain't no way.
¿Quién sabe si son las personas?
Bueno, espera ya.
Pues ya no hay otra.
Es la última. Ahí está. ¿Ya lo viste? ¿Ya lo viste?
No.
Ahí está.
Oh, no cap. What the fuck?
What? Bro, what?
Dog, do you see this shit?
From the Federal Aviation Administration say there were no aircraft incidents or accidents in this area Tuesday night, but multiple witnesses report seeing a large blue object fall out of the sky and into the ocean.
Something is in the sky. What is that?
This video was taken by Misitina Sape at 8:26 Tuesday night near Haleakala Avenue in Nanakuli. Not long after, a woman named Mariah spotted the same thing passing over Princess Kahanu Estates.
And then I was like, oh, started calling my husband then because we was all in the garage. I was like, hey, look up there. See what I see. They all said, yeah.
The 38-year-old says she's never really been a believer in UFOs, but the bright blue object had them so intrigued, they jumped in the car and started following it.
I don't know what it was. This one was going so fast.
The journey ended less than 3 miles from where it began, on Farrington Highway in front of the Board of Water Supply building, after the object appeared to drop into the ocean.
Oh, the going out in the water, whatever it is.
She described it as being larger than a telephone pole and says she never heard it make any sound.
We called 911 if I have, like, one cop or somebody for come out and, come check them out.
While officers were on scene, she says they spotted a second light.
My husband went look up and he seen the white one coming. The white one was smaller, was coming in the same direction as the blue one.
They lost sight of the object after it passed over a nearby mountain. This morning, we asked Honolulu police if investigators figured out what fell in the water. A spokesperson told us they didn't have any information. Meanwhile, officials from the FAA said they received a report from police Tuesday night about a possible plane down in the area, but had no aircraft disappear off radars and no reports of overdue or missing aircraft. Although Mariah's had a couple days to think about it, she says she's still baffled by what she saw.
To this day, I don't know. If you guys can find out what it was, I'll let you know, you know.
Allison Blair, Hawaii News Now.
In Colorado and Nebraska,
That is so creepy.
a mystery in the night sky. What some say are drones, lots of them, but no one seems to know from where or why.
That little dot right there.
Jennifer Rollins was visiting family in Yuma County the day after Christmas when she spotted the flying objects, capturing this one on camera.
It's just hovering there.
It's a mystery and you want answers.
Yeah, and I think everybody out there does too. It's really unnerving to be out there by yourself and you see these flashing lights near your home. You want to know what it is and why it's out there.
The enigma puzzling Colorado and Nebraska law enforcement in more than a dozen counties. Witnesses say the drones typically appear after sunset, as many as 30 flying in formation, 200 to 300 feet above ground, some with wingspans estimated at 6 feet. One sheriff pinpointing the area where a rancher spotted some on New Year's Eve.
He observed anywhere from 5 to 10 drones over about a 25-mile square radius.
Although they don't believe the flying objects to be malicious, officials want answers. Colorado Senator Cory Gardner tweeting that he's closely monitoring the situation. A Federal Aviation Administration spokesman telling CNN multiple FAA divisions and government agencies are investigating these reports. It's not clear if the flights are breaking any laws, but they've drawn attention just as the FAA proposed sweeping new regulations requiring most drones to be identifiable. Legal or not, CNN aviation expert David Susi says they could pose a threat.
People think, oh, it's just a drone, it's a small drone, it's no danger to aircraft, but it is, in fact, a danger to aircraft. They still are made of metal and they can go through the aircraft and cause damage. Even engine ingestion can cause an engine failure.
Some theories suggest the drones could be flown by private companies conducting land surveys, or part of a show like this one. Someone tinkering with new Christmas gifts? Not likely.
Formation drone and flying in fleets is not something for the amateur.
In fact, Susi says they might not be drones at all, rather communication satellites.
Kendrick looked up and gasped.
Gasped, we say. He saw a string of strange lights zipping across the valley sky. He's not the only one. So what was it? Do we need to call the Men in Black or something? Let's bring in Dylan. Dylan, what did you see?
Oh man, so I'm just gonna start off with saying I'm not the average Joe who starts talking aliens just randomly and get people fired up this morning.
No, that's more fun. Let's talk.
I mean, I hope we could. I hope we can show some of the video. But what we saw, my photographer Luis and I were just talking in between that live shot that we brought to you in the 5 o'clock hour. Looked up and just saw at least 20 or 30 lights just kind of coming into play. So there was a dark sky, nothing, and then these bright lights just started coming out and just moving about in a southeasterly direction. One of the strangest things I've seen, like I said, at this point they're unidentified. UFOs don't associate all the time with aliens, but at this point I've never seen anything like it. Folks are reaching out to me on Twitter for my video. It was spotted out in California, which tells us these aren't airplanes, they're not drones, but wow guys, I mean, you guys can chime in. You've seen the video too. Just let everyone know at home I'm not crazy.
Well, I mean, not for this reason, Dylan, but maybe for others. But anyway, were they flying towards Nellis Air Force Base? Could you tell? Were they flying in the direction of Nellis?
No, so they were actually flying southeast, I want to say. So coming kind of from a northwest-southeast pattern, and if we're taking Las Vegas and looking southeast, I'd say it's more in the direction of maybe headed towards Boulder City, Lake Mead area, towards Arizona was the direction I saw it coming from. But it was coming from the northwest. As you know, Nellis Air Force Base is in the northeast. But like I mentioned, I don't think these are airplanes because I've been getting tweets from people who saw the same thing out in California. So that just leaves it up to you to decide what it is, guys.
So if you at home saw this as well, we want to see your video. Please send them to us so we can continue dissecting this. But I mean, isn't Nellis doing those drills right now? And I know they've been doing night training. I don't know if that would take them to California, but I feel much better knowing it was them instead of the latter. Right?
Well, I mean, like I said,
if we're being...
Go ahead, Dylan. Sorry.
Go ahead, Dave. I was going to say, if we're being real, I mean, we had just an insane year last year, I think, where everything that could happen happened. The only thing missing from the slate here is an alien invasion. I don't know what else could happen. Honestly.
You know what, Dylan? I think you need to head out to, like, the lake and see if maybe there's some flying saucers just kind of chilling on the lake. Maybe tell them to bring us some water.
Yeah, we're going to stop at the store and buy some foil first before we see shortages. Good call.
Yeah.
Foil hats, people. Foil hats.
That way they can't read your brain. They won't know what you're thinking. We all know that. Aliens can't see through tinfoil. So that's smart, Dylan. Very smart.
I bet you they don't have these type of conversations and stories over there like in Maine.
Days on UFOs. And yes, because Crystal is out, I'm going to cover his UFOs as much as I want to. Not that she's against it. Not that she's against it. I'm just very into it. Okay, so this all started out on a website called The Debrief. Let's throw this up there. So The Debrief, very interesting news organization on science, tech, and aerospace, spoke with a lot of U.S. military and intelligence officials about the UAPTF. Now, I want everybody to take that in. The Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. Now, this task force, we've talked a lot about that here. That's what is working with Congress and the Intelligence Committee. Well, it turns out, according to The Debrief, they spoke with a bunch of officials about a new report that's been circulating around the Pentagon and within the intelligence community. Now, I'm going to read some direct quotes to everyone. Everyone the debrief spoke with said that the most striking feature of a recent report was the inclusion of a new, extremely clear photograph of an unidentifiable triangular aircraft. Now, yesterday, the debrief published these photos. So the first one, let's go back to that first one, and you can see clearly it was taken with a cell phone camera from an aircraft. This was an FA-18 fighter pilot, and it was captured somewhere over the ocean. I also want to explain here the behavior. So two officials that received that report said, quote, the photo was taken after the triangular craft emerged from the ocean and began to ascend straight upwards at a 90-degree angle. So Ryan, you've had the privilege of being here and having participated now in 2 UFO segments. Your reaction to this news, real bombshell stuff, man.
This is amazing stuff. And what's amazing to me too about it is my inability to believe it. Like I could, they could walk on stage with a couple of aliens who would start talking, and well, that's not happening. There's some type of mental block that I have. That just doesn't allow me to go there, even though I can't do the math, but I know other people can do the math and show that the probabilities are such that if you have this infinite galactic historical timeline before you, that the probability is that, of course, we're not the only place where life could develop. And if life can develop, you can have intelligent life. And if you can have intelligent life, you can figure out space travel. We figured it out. I want to know a lot more about what was going on underneath the ocean, this thing flying out of it.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we've got ex-Air Force personnel who testified that UFOs have actually deactivated nukes. One of the things I forgot to mention, Commander David Fravor talked about, is that one of the UFOs that came into contact with a U.S. Air Force plane actually jammed their radar, technically an act of war. And what's important to acknowledge about all this is that part about the ocean, this is now consistent with a couple of different verified accounts of U.S. military personnel that are encountering this. And Ryan, you and I were talking before the segment. In some cases now, nuclear attack submarines are said to have encountered some of these vehicles under the ocean. And I remind everybody the Tic Tac one in 2005 was actually observed by Commander Fravor, saying that it might have been communicating with something in the subsurface. So this isn't just something which is aerial necessarily. This is just something that kind of because it defies the laws of physics, it just changes the way that we think about flying. I mean, whenever you have a propulsion system which doesn't require like air and burning air, you fly just same underwater as you do in the air. Are you a ship? Like, I don't know.
Are there other theories that the Army is throwing out or the military is throwing out as to what else could be going on here?
Great question. In terms of the military, they don't mention any. Now, in the debrief article, what they talk about is something called a weather dropsonone, and that is like a triangular-ish, I wish I had a picture that I could throw up here, I should have thought about that, which is attached by string to a larger weight. And the reason why they generally think they can rule that out is because the string and the weight are not attached in terms of that triangular phenomenon. The other one people were talking about is a mylar balloon. That's been the case in several different ones. That one, look, I don't have an explanation. It's certainly possible. What I would say is, I do not think an FA-18 fighter pilot takes out his cell phone to take a photo of something when it's a mylar balloon. I just think that given the amount of time that these guys spend up there in the air, we're talking about tens of thousands of hours of airtime, of so much more, they know how to distinguish between something that they believe to be something emerging from the ocean and going at a right 90-degree angle, and like a mylar balloon, which is just like going around. So, look, I mean, this is just another tool in the cap. And as we've said, and actually, it's interesting. A lot of people contacted me after our last segment when you were asking, like, why would they keep this secret? A lot of it has to do with the nuclear program and some of the more secret elements of the U.S. military arsenal and their own, contact that has come in with these vehicles. But, it just day after day after day, the situation gets a lot more interesting.
I'm glad we're learning more about it. I'm glad that credible outlets like the one that you just elevated are looking at this in a way where people who haven't been following it religiously for years can have a place to go to and look at it in a serious way.
Yeah, I try hard to break it down on only the most credible ones and Pentagon reports, things with photos, that type of thing, because it's very easy to be dismissed. There's been a lot of propaganda about this for many, many years. Anyway, next week on Rising, another week planned with more great guests. Crystal Ball is going to be back with me. Remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our videos. Don't forget to like and share as well. And everybody,
speaking of conspiracy theories that actually have truth at the bottom of them, the Corona Relief Bill the President signed last month contains a provision that hasn't gotten a lot of attention. It directs the Director of National Intelligence, in consultation with the Secretary of Defense and the heads of other agencies, to disclose what they know about UFOs within 180 days. So what are they going to tell us? Nick Pope is an expert on this subject. He's former UK Minister of Defense. He's an official of the UK Ministry of Defense. He joins us tonight. Nick, thanks so much for coming on. What do you think we're likely to learn? Will they obey is the first question. Will they actually tell us what they know? And if they do, what will they tell us?
Well, this is going to be a very interesting year for UFOs, that's for sure, Tucker. And yes, they will definitely have to produce this report within 180 days, so we can get this by late June. It has to be unclassified, but can have a classified annex. So the answer, what the public will get, maybe not a lot, but what the Senate Intelligence Committee, the Armed Services Committee will get, hopefully a whole lot more, and hopefully some answers to these questions that we've been asking for months now. What is going on in our airspace? What has the U.S. Navy been encountering? And what is it that has been in these classified briefings that we know some senators have already had?
What do you think they're likely to reveal?
Well, it's interesting because Senator Marco Rubio said he would almost rather this was alien, because if it turns out to be China or Russia, then we're in big trouble, because the sorts of speeds and maneuvers and accelerations that these objects are capable of really is concerning. And I hope that we're going to find out about that. It's interesting, just before Christmas, there were some leaks. Sitting in Office of Naval Intelligence is an organization called the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. They're probably the ones drafting this report. Some leaks suggest they have not ruled out the extraterrestrial hypothesis.
Yeah, and there may be physical evidence of the existence of these craft, whatever they are. Have you heard that?
Yes, I've heard talk of so-called meta materials, and I think this report really will have to disclose. I mean, what the Intelligence Committee want to know is everything in government is fragmented. They want to know who knows what. They want a single official named and put in charge of all this, and this is going to include FBI, by the way, as well as the military and the intelligence community. We want answers.
Yeah, and I don't want to wait till June. Why don't they do it tomorrow morning and finally declassify the rest of the Warren Commission report while they're at it? And this is just nonsense, and I appreciate your help on this. Hopefully we'll find out very soon. Nick, thank you. Great to see you.
I don't know.
That is weird.
We're seeing something interesting in the sky. We're in Bountiful, Utah. This started out as a dot, a bright dot. It's a little too bright of time in the day for it to be a planet, and it was just a dot that was holding still in one spot. And now it is going straight up from the space it was in.
And behind the clouds.
Oh my gosh, I don't know what this is.
And it didn't go up fast. It's kind of
slow.
Not like a rocket. Not like a jet.
I've seen what I thought was one, but never one that... I'm trying to get to focus. Good night. Look at that. I absolutely don't either, but my problem is the distance. The distances are mind-numbingly large. What the hell is that? It's like a formation. Plus, the government's very open about it now. Google, Pentagon admits having off-world vehicle not made on this earth. Google that.
more productive. He averages 4 on the year. He needs to double that in the absence of Anthony Davis and, of course, Trez.
It's gone.
Right now, I can't. But it's 2 lights. It's weird. You be that close, you can just see on my phone, right? Excuse me. See it up there. I don't know what that is. Es un objeto como cuadrado, no sé. Es una cosa que se está moviendo. El que estaba más lejos, ¿dónde está? Ahí está. Pero este objeto, miren, sigue lo otro objeto. Retrocedo y...
I've seen what I thought was one, but I've never one that... I'm trying to get to focus. Good night. Look at that. I absolutely don't either, but my problem is the distance. The distances are mind-numbingly large. What the hell is that? It's like a formation. Plus, the government's very open about it now. Google, Pentagon admits having off-world vehicle not made on this earth. Google that.
That's hectic. Can you see it?
Yes. That is not normal. Holy fuck, it's still going. I should live stream this, dude. Do you know how? Facebook, I think. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. It's way out there. That's absolutely incredible. There's an orange light in the sky down by Lake Ontario. Looks like burning fire in the sky.
watching the bright light there. I've been watching it for a couple minutes. It's changed directions dramatically. It's gone up and down dramatically. It gets dim and then bright. Right now it's kind of accelerating. We're in Colton, California. I'm looking to the north. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. This is with my phone video. Okay, it's going dim. I can see it with my eyesight, but I'm not. There it goes. There goes bright again. Looks like it's just changed directions. It's possibly hovering. And it looks like it's moving back to the left, back to the west. Looks like it's accelerating. I'm going to stop this right now.
Okay, there it again. It's been sitting there for 20 minutes now. There's no way that's a balloon, and it's not a star. I looked on my sky map, and it's not a planet. I have no idea what this is.
I can't. No way. It's moving.
There's a UFO, Con. What is that? Izzy's, come on now.
In the clouds, bro. Instead of
it's pretending to be a cloud.
Look, bro.
This is not real, Con. What is that hole in the cloud? That's not a hole in the cloud. What do you reckon, Izzy's?
UFO.
It's in front of the clouds.
Oh, bro. Look,
it's got to be.
Going.
Is it moving?
Oh, it looks like.
Oh, it's dimming.
Bro.
It can't. It's moving real slow now.
Oh.
Fuck, did you see?
So they're having a little meeting. So this is the shit I'm talking about, sorry. Look at this little meeting in the sky. Crazy, right? And they're just there. They're just there hanging out.
is so weird. There's a plane or something over here. They've been sitting there for a while. There was 4, now there's 3.
What the fuck is this alien bullshit? What is this? Are they watching us?
One, two. There's the third one. So I'm on the right side. On my right. 1, 2. It's up there. But they make like a diamond and then like an inner diamond. And the top ones are moving, or they're moving out of formation. Yeah. This is definitely weird. No noise. Trying to see where the 4th one down there went. Like I said, I gotta look sideways through my damn glasses.
Permiso, se van siguiendo, ¿Ya viste? ¿Las estrellas? No son estrellas, pendeja. Mira, se van siguiendo, va a pasar por la luna, mira. ¿Ya viste? Mira, allá va la otra, la va siguiendo, güey. Güey, ¿qué pedo? Mira, en la cámara, güey, en la cámara, güey, morro. Chate la cámara, chate la cámara. Le va disparando, güey. Chate la cámara. Le va disparando, güey, ¿ve?
Oye,
The fuck is this shit?
The Oscars recently, as in last night, came out with new rules as of 2024. You actually have to fulfill certain rules in order for your picture to be eligible for Best Picture.
What the fuck is that?
Level of black LGBTQ or female representation on screen. Stories that
This is above the Pentagon.
or I guess death. Well, really, this is something in there on screen, or a certain number of.
Would love somebody to tell me what these lights are. They just keep on appearing. Look, there's another one. There's been about 15 of them now. They just keep coming from that direction and then they just disappear. They keep coming. You keep rolling on this. See if any more turn up. Yeah, here comes some more. There's another one coming. All coming from that direction. See if there's any more after this one. As close as I can get.
I mean, there's nothing from the ground.
Somebody please explain this to me.
There's nothing from the ground shooting up into the sky. That's not a damn airplane. What in the hell is it? We gotta send this video in.
My gosh.
We gotta stop cussing on this video so we can.
You're the only one cussing.
Well, goodness gracious alive, there's aliens in the sky.
I have heard you cuss. Have you been cussing?
I guess so.
Twice.
It is shooting light off of it, bro. And this is going, let's see if I can catch it going through the sky.
Yeah, we're going on like
through the sky?
30 minutes of footage of this.
Yeah, I can.
And we have no explanation.
And then they go back to one. And then they spread apart
crazy.
again. This can't be real, bro.
This is crazy.
Alright, but I'm not going to sit here all night and watch it.
We can camp.
I'm not camping. I'm already getting hungry again.
You're getting hungry? There's UFOs. It's 2020. I'm hungry.
Looking at Christina, a UFO is fantastic, man. You'd be zipping around the galaxies.
Hey, they can come pick me up if they want to.
No, they gotta take me too.
It'd be fantastic on that.
Well, let's just link arms so if they come pick us up, we'll get together.
And Peanut. Peanut's gonna end up ruling the country.
No more bills.
Peanut.
We got abducted by aliens.
No more bills.
Now that light down to the bottom looked like it came from the ground.
What do you think,
looks
babe?
like it's coming from the ground.
What do you think?
You'd be like, what the rest of y'all do in 2020? Let's zip around the galaxies abducted.
With
All y'all
UFOs.
shares your phones. TikTok.
Exactly. You can see the planes in this. Can you see the planes in the sky down below? That's how high the planes are. This is 3 times as high as the planes are.
That's just wild right there, what I'm looking at.
Yeah, this is crazy.
This is the creepiest thing I've ever seen, bro. All right, well, I'm getting off here. I mean, I thought y'all would like that, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm looking at. That's crazy.
I have no idea either, bro. And they're just shooting across the sky, and everybody in California thinks we're crazy as hell.
I don't know, man.
It is 2020.
Look at that, baby.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Me and you both have never seen anything.
I've never seen anything like that.
I never seen anything.
Look at her face. She is like, oh my gosh.
Anything like that. That's wild. I mean, I don't know what it is you're looking at, but I'm finding it crazy.
Yeah. All right.
All right, we ready?
All right, Robbie. I'll holler at you later, bro.
Before we get abducted.
And you guys be safe.
All right. We'll send y'all the good video.
Now I'm gonna record. Now it's messing with us.
This went to the left.
There's one, oh yeah. Oh, there's both 2 of them. It just stopped to check us out.
I wonder how much of a view they have.
I don't know.
They're not letting them know we see them.
Waving at them.
We probably shouldn't let them know we see them. Too late.
Yeah, they're checking us out now. Nothing to see here. Hey, that one turned off its light or something. Oh, there's Beck. Oh, you can hear it. Yeah, those are drones. Gotta be. Must be having training or something.
Mano, que é aquilo ali no céu, velho? Fala pra mim. Que é aquilo ali no céu, mano? Vocês estão vendo o que eu tô vendo? Ó. Dá uma olhada. Mano do céu, fala sério.
Wait, do y'all see this? Do y'all see this? What is this? Wait, I can't even show it too. What the fuck? I swear, like, this isn't no edits, no nothing. Look, this is the farthest since you've seen. What the fuck is that? Like, that don't look like no kite from over here. Can't see it. What the fuck?
Personas que están ahí pintando, no sé, ni lo han visto. Están más cerca todavía. ¿Se perdió? No, yo no estoy viendo todavía.
My son saw something going by so slow. He said, Mommy, I think it's a UFO. Hurry up. And this thing is blinking. I don't know if I can get this to start blinking now. I tried to get it. I don't know if I can get that. Oh my God, I think that was a UFO. And I think, oh my God, that was a UFO. But of course, I'm like trying to make sense of it. Helicopter. No fucking helicopter. No runners. And no tail light either. It sounds just like the first thing. Oh my God, the lights give it away. Yeah. I gotta remember that even if we don't see wings or it's the light that a helicopter does not blink like that and it does not move. Oh my God. I got it, Anthony. Thank you. We got another UFO.
2020 has hit us with a lot of stuff. It's not even July, but from the giant killer hornets that are coming to, there's just locusts everywhere and the pandemic. I mean, what is coming next is the real question. Well, we think we have a viral video, which was released from Miami, which explains a lot. It shows that it might be UFOs. No word on what these lights in the sky actually are yet, but a Senate Intelligence Committee is calling on the Pentagon to release the UFO.
And
And there you have it, guys. That was the feature presentation part of this evening's live stream on All Out Alien Agenda. So without any further ado, let's get the camera back on and get rid of our presentation. Whoops, hang on, my bound. There, we're back to more normal and familiar surroundings. That, look, I even had a costume change during the middle of that. It was getting a little bit chilly in here in the Alf t-shirt. It's been some years since I was able to kind of wear that respectfully, but hopefully you guys have enjoyed this evening's proceedings, where we did, as I said, look quite a lot at some recent alien or strange UFO sightings. Let's not say that they are aliens, but some UFO sightings, and all of those sightings come from within the last few months since the start of January 2021, and quite a lot of similarities. I think you will agree with what we were seeing there. Lots of sort of very similar shape balls. Now with regards to what Devil was speaking about yesterday in the silver footballs and being propelled, you know, that they had the twin propellers and they were sort of hovering in the air. Could that be what we were witnessing there? And again, you know, we sort of mentioned yesterday and earlier today in the stream during the panel that quite possibly these could be smaller objects that aren't as high up, but from the ground they might look bigger and further away than they really are. Are they drones? You want to see the mask again? Things are going to fall to pieces. I'll maybe show you another day, but yeah, it's there in the background. Funny enough, it cost $3 from China on eBay trip. Look on eBay, Rorschach mask. You should be able to find one. But again, he was an individual from the Watchmen who stumbled upon a conspiracy that nobody really wanted to know, and turns out he stumbled on the conspiracy of all conspiracies that did lead to an eventual hoax alien invasion. Nancy, can anyone else hear me? The microphone should be on. Is anybody having difficulty? Yeah, it's you, Nancy. I pretty much figured it would be. Oh dear, our little Cajun agent. But yeah, The Watchmen, again, this was one of the sort of comic books I read as a kid growing up, although I must admit when I sort of first read it, it wasn't as pop eye-opening for me, and I guess, you know, I was a little bit more accustomed to Spider-Man, of the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, those sort of superheroes. So the sort of Watchmen was a little bit adult for me at the time of reading, but it was when I was an adult and I sort of had a little bit of an understanding of the deep state and a little bit of a looky look at sort of alien invasions. It really was an eye-opener, and you know, it's up there with Soylent Green as one of my 1984s. And you know, let's not rule out before the end of the year we might see an alien invasion. And now, is it going to be actual aliens? Is it going to be US government secret technology, or are they going to be holographic? Who can say at this point? But I think we can pretty much bet a bottom dollar that by the end of the year we will have some more classification or clarification rather, that aliens or extraterrestrials or UFOs are going to be part of our everyday occurrence, and what impact that is going to have on the world, one can only wonder. But hopefully you guys, you enjoy the panel. I know the guys that were in the panel, you enjoyed it an awful lot. It is a lot of fun. It is sometimes a bit more fun doing it pre-recorded off air, because the sort of fun and the setting up and the fun ending it is something that is a little bit enjoyable. But it is all about sort of getting you guys a little bit involved, a little bit interactive with the content that we see, and it's very nice to hear other people's views. You know, sometimes in the chat, there's no way Mark, Maiden and Becky could have kind of put what they wanted to say tonight in just a few words. And by all accounts, Kelly wants to come and be a member of the panel in the future. So, you know, if you want to see panels, if you want to be part of the panel, then, you know, now is the time to let us know, because as I said, they are enjoyable to do, and it does bring a lot of different points of view into the mix, not just my monologue rambling on and on. But anyway, maybe you just watch too much porn on it, Aztec, and that's why the batteries died. You know, some of those HD adult videos do take a lot of data up. So you know, maybe just reduce the quality of the definition to 360 HD, and then maybe the battery will last a little bit longer. But yeah, you can always plug it in, I guess. But as I said, guys, if or not you find the panels enjoyable, let me know. As I said, they are enjoyable from our side of the camera to partake in, and it does certainly, I think, bring a little something different to the table in terms of what you get to see. And again, you get to be a little bit of a part to what the channel presents there. You know, it's as much yours as it is mine. But we are going to sort of wrap it up now, because it is getting towards the midnight hour. What time is it? Yeah, a couple of minutes away from midnight. So we did have a little bit of difficulties trying to set up this evening. We got shut down in the first attempt, but we went through glitch free. And again, another enjoyable stream from my side of the camera, and I only hope that comes across on your side. Yeah, no, it is, Mark, and I think, you know, in the sort of last week when we sort of pre-recorded it, it was fun, and I think doing it live, although we do run the risk of little difficulties like we did experience, it certainly does sort of add something that's a little bit more fun, I think, in the moment than pre-recording. Although pre-recording we do get that little bit of excitement. Hey, I can't wait for the others to see it. So yeah, it was a good show. Thank you, Nancy. It was really good. Give everyone a chance to get to eat. Indeed, and you know, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you guys in the chat, you have quite a lot to contribute that you can't contribute in just a few words in the time frame. You know, we've got a time delay. So, you know, sorry if we do ignore sort of the chat a little bit during that panel discussion sort of thing. Maybe in as we progress, we'll be able to sort of try and sort of ask some of your questions to the people that are on the panel, sort of to get that sort of true interaction going. But it is a little bit early days in teething and in testing the waters, and it seems to be a good idea. So I certainly would like to try and do this at least once a week. I think it'll be a nice little sort of Saturday thing to do, just get us all together and we can all sort of contribute. And as Marduk says, it gives us a chance to get to know each other a little bit better than just what we say in the chat there. But we will be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. I did say it's going to be a 2-part Alien Agenda series of streams for the remainder of this week, so I do have to put my cute little ass into gear tomorrow and try and put together some type of content for tomorrow evening. I'm not sure if or not we could you know, get a caller or something on to maybe sort of finish and round up the week of All Out Apocalypse, and maybe have a little bit of a part aliens and part let's just go free for all, zombies, asteroids, throw it in the mix. So I don't know if anybody is free and available tomorrow and would be willing to do a panel or at least be a guest caller. Let me know. But I think maybe let's try and do it at least once a week and not try and overuse it just for the sake of overusing it. So as I said, guys, let's start to wrap this up. It is getting very close to the 3-hour mark, although over 2 streams we get our little dancing girl in. There we are. Centralize that. They hit Taiwan next trip. Sorry, what have I missed? Did they erase yesterday's stream? No, actually they didn't, Aztec. It was copyright struck for the 37 seconds of content we showed of a Chinese killer bee movie. So that's been blocked, and you can't watch it anymore. So it is sometimes a little bit of a case of watch it or you might never get to see it. Watch it or it's gone. But thank you, baby P, for posting the PayPal link. Don't forget, I am not monetized, don't have a day job, and if you feel like chucking me a buck or two for my trouble, certainly will appreciate it. Yeah, Chinese food is good. Nancy. So anyway, guys, we will be back again tomorrow to wrap up this weekend of streams here at Reality Decoded. Until then, try and stay out of trouble. Try not to get abducted by aliens. Maybe try to watch a little less porn on your phone, save the battery. But until then, as I said, keep out of trouble, stay safe, keep it thrifty, and remember to always be excellent to one another. So we will, as I said, be back again at 9 p.m. Eastern. Sunday night, the 29th of March. Where has March gone? Who knows? Maybe time has been sped up. But until tomorrow, guys, take care, be excellent to each other, and keep it thrifty. And may the force be with us all.